I
We live,
always
we live,
no,
live.
okay, good.
Okay, boom. And we are live. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to a very special edition of Off the Record on the People's Podcast this afternoon. We have a magnificent guest with us today, one who is going to give us some amazing information as well as inspiration, and that is none other than our Brother Wazir out of Camden, New Jersey. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum salam, beloved brother.
And how are you and the family doing, sir?
Man, by Allah's grace and mercy, we are all wonderful.
Excellent. Yes, sir. And on behalf of myself and my family and the viewing audience of the People's Podcast, we want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come have a conversation with us today. The first question that we have for you today is, when did you first hear the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad?
Oh man, you ready for this tragic but true story?
Yes, sir.
Well, I first was exposed to just the name Farrakhan through rap music.
Mm,
You know, it wasn't a big presence or no presence at all within the city as I was growing up during the late 70s to 80s. So the first time I remember specifically hearing the minister's name was from Public Enemy.
mm.
You know, Farrakhan's a prophet that I think you ought to listen to.
Yes, sir.
And then the Big Daddy Kanes and the Poor Righteous Teachers and the Brand Nubians was dropping the lessons. And now I gravitated towards it, even to In Living Color, making mockery of the minister, you know? But it's like the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, every knock is a boost, you know? So that began the journey. I guess fast forward, the brother I went to school with, he's a little older than me, Brother Russell. Brother
Mm,
Russell did some time and came home in FOI. And at
mm,
this time, there's a presence now. The study guide had been open. Um, Regional Delaware Valley, they sent the student minister Omar, who is presently our beloved minister here in the city. They sent him over. And so the brother was out soldiering. So I would buy the final call from him to support the brother. Probably cracked it open one time, but every time I seen him, I would purchase the final call from him.
mm.
And this was 92 into 93, I believe. Then Brother Curtis used to be out soldiering and selling VHS tapes.
Mm.
And one of my close friends purchased Savior's Day 93 when the minister was on Time magazine cover, The Ministry of Rage. Again, every knock being a boost. And man, brother, we were so knee deep in the streets at that time. But we would literally be watching that, drinking, smoking, playing tonk, gambling for money while the minister is blaring. And
Mm.
we watched that tape over and over and over again. And it's just a testament to how Allah works. These seeds get planted,
Mm.
and
Mm.
none of us know when they would take root. You know, so a key thing I would like the sidebar with, we have to be patient with people because we never know what's going on in the darkness of their hearts and their minds. And sometimes it takes a roundabout way for the person to accept, but we never know what Allah has in store. So that we were being impregnated. And then I begin to question, why are our people, I'm coming alive now. And I'm questioning, why are we in the condition that we're in?
Mm. Mm.
You know,
Mm.
I used to smoke my weed and we sitting in the car and I brought that issue up to two of my good friends and they like, oh, here he go, the philosopher, he bugging now. And I'm like, nah, if it's a God, because I asked, man, what y'all think about God? Is there a God? Why would he allow us to be in this condition?
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Because I always identified with the suffering of our people. So I, began and then led me to Dr. Khaled's. We come across his lecture at King College.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, we identify with that spirit, that warrior spirit. Of course, we don't know protocol. We don't understand the decorum and the language. And
Yes,
all
sir.
we know is, yeah, pin the tail on that honky. you know,
Yes,
and
sir.
but still in the streets. First, let me regress. Allow me first to open up in the name of Allah, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, to whom all praise is due. And as a citizen of this great nation of Islam, and an unapologetic and proud follower of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad under the leadership of Minister Farrakhan, I like to greet you, your family, all the believers, and the greetings of peace and paradise of Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, sir.
My next point, see, you just snuck me with the question, because I really wanted to express this before we get back into a little of my history. I would like to thank you, brother. A lot of times we're inspired to do things, but the humble ones don't really look at how Allah is using us. And I thank you for moving out on that inspiration. It was Allah inspiring you to start this. And you probably was hesitant at first, which we do question, should I, shouldn't I? But I thank you for listening to that messenger of Allah within you. Because I don't think you really understand the significance of what you're doing. See, a lot of times we look at the national figures and the minister and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and we put them on Pluto. We make them unattainable. But what I see and what this serves as the testimonies of all the believers, and even some that's not believers or registered, but supporters of the nation that's attracted to what you bring in this platform, it sure serves as inspiration for us.
Praise be to Allah.
See, through my journey, through what I've been through, as I share with you, I was incarcerated for 22 years. It wasn't just the teachings that I fed on to give me light in that darkness. I would read a lot of autobiographies of people.
Yes, sir.
Not biographies, not somebody else writing your story, but let me hear the auto from you and what you went through.
Yes, sir.
So I thank Allah because I'm always looking for inspiration from anyone. I'm always trying to hear what Allah is saying. It's easy to say, yeah, man, Allah and the person Master Farad Muhammad. Yeah, Allah speaks through the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Yeah, Allah speaks through the minister. He's our Messiah in our midst. What about Allah speaking through Brother Joshua?
Yes, sir.
Do we actually consciously listen for that? Or do we become tone deaf? Like, I don't want to hear that. But me personally, I literally try to hear because I try to get guidance from that. Because I believe our answers come through men.
That's right.
And women, So I fed off of the teachings to get through that transitional period in my life and the believers. And every time since I've been home and been blessed to meet the different student ministers, from the national assistant, our beloved brother student minister Ishmael,
yes,
to
sir.
Brother Secretary Saul, to Dr. Wesley, to student minister Demetric, to student minister Willie, not resident imam. I didn't meet him personally, but the imam in Baltimore, Brother Abdul Salam.
Yes, sir.
Who else? Oh, of course, our brother Ilya Rashad. That's my guy, man. Him connected instantly.
Yes, sir.
Because I fed off of them. Allah blessed us to be able to stay in tune with getting their DVDs in. I was in the federal system and their books. So the first thing I would do every time I meet them brothers is thank them. And Brother Halim, Southwest Regional Minister, because they literally fed me and allowed me an opportunity to help feed the brothers where I was at. And again, knowing we never know what the eventual outcome going to be with those seeds that was planted.
That's right.
So I thank them for their service, and I thank you for your service, because I believe that seeds are being planted, and we really don't know what the eventual outcome will be. So again, brother, thank you from the sincerity of my heart.
Oh, praise to Allah. Yes, sir. Wonderful. Okay, great. And
praise
everyone, people are showing you love all around the world. Thank you, Sister Miriam, saying Assalamu alaikum family. Sister Naima saying Assalamu alaikum family. Thank you to our YouTube family and everyone who is showing love. and sending positive energy to our brother Wazir out of Camden, Jersey. He mentioned student minister Omar. Everybody go back and please watch that interview. One of the great interviews. So there was a brother from Camden who I interviewed, brother
Oh, you
Omar.
did? I
Yeah,
didn't know you interviewed our beloved brother
yes,
minister.
sir. Yes,
Praise
sir.
be to
Great
Allah.
job. Great job. Okay, but yes, sir. So now you when you hear the teachings, you're out of prison, or this before you go.
This is before I go.
Okay.
I'm in the prison of the street life. That's that's a prison as well. You become
Okay.
incarcerated, in it. And I'm knee deep in it. I grew up on a well-known drug block in my community. And it just progressively went from selling marijuana to selling powder cocaine to selling crack cocaine to eventually led to my being involvement in the drug trade.
Mm,
I made pretty good money, mid-level, but it's not big time because we know who the big time, drug dealers are. So we don't glorify in none of that activity, and we don't want to even get into specifics of it because we don't want to get taken back to that place.
mm, mm,
But that was my life. And coming into the teachings, it was a transition, and it was a flying high of what we thought, and then getting those teachings, and Allah saying, "Yeah, I'm going to turn you around, but I'm going to
mm,
bring this to a halt,"
mm,
And where I left off was with getting exposed to Brother Khaled, and now we're yearning. And it was actually a Wednesday meeting that we ride past and see that the study guide was open at 1414 Haddon Avenue. So
mm,
we intended to go in to just buy some more tapes to watch. And they
mm.
got us to come in and finish listening to the lecture being done by student minister Omar.
Yes,
And
sir.
I ended up buying A Torchlight for America. Brother, that's the first book that I've ever read from cover to cover.
Mm, mm,
The
mm,
more I become to learn about the teachings, the more my involvement in the drug trade was turning unsuccessful.
mm, mm, mm,
It was like everything was just turning, it was just falling, But now, in hindsight, it was Allah bringing that to a end, to start my journey towards this. So to try to make a long story short, I eventually, oh, the minister came to Philly on a Stop the Killing tour.
okay, okay.
It was in September of 1994. And I had now enough was I'm going. I'm going to see the minister. So a few of us went over there and we made that pledge. He asked us to pledge to stop the killing. And I made that pledge and said from that point on I would come away from the drug trade.
Mm,
And I did, but I didn't stop a criminal mentality.
mm,
Because at that day as well, I was exposed to and brothers that was in the city at the time who loved Honorable Elijah Muhammad's teachings, loved the minister, but we adopted that old mentality from the first of, how can you rob the robber?
mm, 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 mm.
But you're still opposed to the divine instructions that Honorable Elijah Muhammad gives us, that we're not supposed to steal, period. We shouldn't pick up weapons, period,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
to harm anyone. That's not our way. But in my immaturity and struggle to get right, at 20 years old, that's what we lean towards. And that mentality was also adopted from a group called the New World Nation of Islam.
Mm,
Now, the New World Nation of Islam has its inception from brothers from Muhammad, the Temple of Islam 25 in Newark, New Jersey.
okay, okay.
And brother minister Belton X. Williams, who became Minister Fraud Savior, was a young brother in the mosque attracting other younger brothers from the streets. And, you know, the history is murky. So I don't want to say for certain things that happened, but it's alleged that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad made him the field minister.
Mm, mm,
And it was a clash at one point that's documented between those brothers and members of the Nation of Islam that even led to bloodshed between
mm,
them.
mm,
It was a very volatile time at the 60s. But what happened, Minister Belton found himself in prison in Trenton State. And he began to train brothers and raise them into following the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. But again, most of the brothers already having a criminal mentality, being criminal minded, you know, took the teachings and would go off to the left with it, but still with a sincere love for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And
yes, sir.
so I come up under one of those brothers who were in prison with him at the time. And our main modus operandum, we looked at it like, you know, Allah has an army you see and he has an unseen army,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
you know, and it was our job is to protect the truth and the bearers of truth,
Mm, mm, mm.
you know. So even in our wrongdoings, it was still exhorted to love our minister, to love the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. You know, we just was doing things that we still shouldn't have done.
Yes, sir.
They shouldn't have been doing. I bring that history up because those brothers still exist, that group, but they have adopted the philosophy like many of the other so-called followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that's not registered and following the minister's leadership. That, you know, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, after him comes God. But they understand it's the God in Minister Farrakhan. You know, and Savior's Day 2021, the minister says that was instructions that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave during the
Yes, sir.
theology of lecture. Was, excuse me, brother, I gotta pop up. Okay. Okay. Um, that when you see him, you look at him.
That's right. That's right.
Where you tell him to go, where he tells you to go, you go. You know, we know. So how is it in our minds we still rationalize that that was just for then, but we say how wise the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad was? You don't think he foreseen? That was a coincidence that he sat him in his seat, that
Mm,
he
mm,
done for
mm,
no one else, that
mm.
he named him Farrakhan, saying he has many Alis and many Sharifs and many other names, but only one Farrakhan. But all that was for then. But this wise man who became a god amongst us, he didn't know that.
Go
You know?
ahead and teach.
So he lied or he was wrong. See, this is what it's really disheartening that you can say that you love the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. How don't you by default then love the man who has done the most to keep that man's name alive? They can never show at one time where the minister doesn't open up in the name of Master Farad Muhammad and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So if these men were not backing him, why would they allow him to prosper? You know, so I've engaged some of the naysayers and I always say, well, outworking.
Mm,
You know, you can't out talk him, outwork him. You know, you produce something because, okay, if you say we wrong, like Honorable Elijah Muhammad said plenty times, if you have the right program and you can show me, I will bring my followers and we will follow you, but show me. So if y'all want to say y'all right and we wrong, then just show us. All of y'all that's right. Y'all all come together and show us the way and we'll follow
mm,
y'all. But just
mm.
sitting on the sidelines talking, that's not going to save our people, brother. So the minister he said, fraud, that we're obligated. Now Elijah Muhammad made him that, you know. So that's the God in him that came after the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Yes,
But
sir.
that group feel like, you know, we don't follow the minister. The chain of command went from Brother Farrar Savior, Belton Williams, to a brother who was in prison with him named Uncle Yaya. That was his initial name. He had some books out. I don't mind mentioning. We don't hide from anyone who's doing anything.
Yes, sir.
Investigating. Look at the brother, because I don't have no ill feelings towards any brothers who say they follow the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, because I believe in the end, Allah's going to settle the differences anyway and show who's who and what's what. And I actually having a genuine love for people, because at least we on the same footing when it comes to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, opposed to fighting against our people who, can't even recognize the divinity in him. So, now the brother is known as Ali Mahdi Muhammad.
Mm.
And he's the leader of the New World Nation of Islam here. And, the works that they intend to do with spreading the teaching of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And, the Quran says that Allah wastes the reward of no worker of good. So spreading the teaching of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to the best of your ability, it gets applauded. We applaud you, because that's a solid foundation to start on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You can't separate Aaron from Moses. You just can't do it. They both was given an authority.
That's
a
right.
clear authority, the Quran says. And Elijah Muhammad said he is the Moses.
That's right. That's right.
We know that history didn't happen. There's no historical count that story ever happened.
That's right.
We know it's prophecy. We know that history is written every 25,000 years in advance. So if it didn't happen then, and we bear witness that it's happening now,
that's
how
right.
can
That's
there
right.
be a Moses and not be an Aaron?
Come on.
And why is it that Aaron's rod was the only rod that produced?
Mm.
And look at the science behind what Allah told Moses. He said, I'm tired of hearing the murmurings of the children of Israel against you and your brother. I'm tired of hearing it. So you get the rod of all the houses, the 12 houses, write the names on each one, and you put it on the tabernacle. And whatever one that buds is the proof that that's who I'm with.
Yes, sir.
And it was Aaron's rod.
Teaching.
That budded. All praise is due to Allah. So don't hate the man for producing. So I just think Allah, I love our minister so much, man, because, you see his love.
Yes, sir.
We're often holler, yeah, I love you, minister. And or the minister say he love us. We talking about we love you more. We don't love that man more. I thank him for loving us to the degree and having the heart that he has. All praise is due to Allah. So actually, brother, what happened to me further, I ended up getting some charges and found myself in the county jail for 4 months. Oh man, I hated it. But I dedicated my time to study and prayer. And when I came home, I was incarcerated the day my daughter was born, leaving the hospital, July 14th, 1995. I have a son that was just born 2 weeks prior, July 1st, on my birthday. My son Samir was born July 1st. My daughter Najla was born July 14th. And just to show you how I was running out there, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I was bailed out November the 4th. Missed the Million Man March. But Allah best us to watch it. They played it for us. We watched it. We made sure it was on them TVs, willing to fight for it and everything. But, we didn't get too much resistance. That was an event that the brothers wanted to see and wanted to witness. And I came home and went to the mosque. And I wrote my letter. At this time, Minister Rob was the minister in Canada. Minister Omar went back to Philly. And the staff stayed. And I received my approval letter in January of 96.
Praise be to Allah.
And the captain challenged me because I told him after a Sunday meeting, he challenged me to recite.
Mm.
Brother, I studied the actual facts and the student enrollment. Probably a few hours because I was determined, I'm competitive. I grew up playing sports. Don't challenge me. And Allah blessed me to recite on
Oh,
January 29th to the secretary. And I became a registered member in the Nation of Islam.
beautiful. Go ahead. Yes, sir, Brother Wazir. Man, this is powerful. And people are showing love all around the world. And Brother Wazir, are you in a ministry class?
Yes, I am.
Okay, it's making sure. I'm like, you
Yes,
teaching,
I
sir.
am. I'm a student lieutenant. I'm in the ministry class. I just wherever I'm needed, brother.
Beautiful.
Because I believe that Allah uses all of us. See, again, we see the use of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Minister Farrakhan. Yeah, Allah used them. He works with them. They seen the scientists seen and they wrote about the men. Brother Jabril would constantly work to remind us.
Yes, sir.
What about us? May
That's
Allah
right.
be
That's right.
pleased with our brother. I fed, he's another one. Specifically, every final call, even when I was in the county jails, I would have people go online and make a copy of the Elijah Muhammad's article in the final call, the centerfold, Minister Farrakhan's article, Brother Jabril's article, and Mother Tynetta's article. Bi-weekly at that time before it became weekly. And that's what I fed on. Then when I was able to get the paper, I would start there and then read, the rest. So actually, when I was in the county jail, I'm fast forward a little bit because I ended up, doing that 22 years. I wrote Brother Jabril. It was when the next edition that came out of Is It Possible Is the Honorable Elijah Muhammad Physically Alive?
Okay.
And at that point, I knew, I was faced with the time I was faced with. I had already had lost trial and I had been sentenced to 14 years. And I still had some other open cases. And I wrote him asking, what could we do to further help from in here? We in here, there's nothing we could do. What we can. And he never addressed that. What could we do? He sent me a series of articles on pain. On the minute from Closing the Gap on how the minister dealt with pain, the trials that Don Elijah Muhammad took him through, and that story of Don Elijah Muhammad talking about those evil men who threw a donkey into a ditch.
Yes, sir.
And everybody would come past and throw rocks and hit the donkey with rocks. But eventually the pit filled up with rocks and the donkey was able to walk out the pit. That's what he said. Every knock is a boost.
That's
and
right.
He sent me a copy of the book. And we went deep into study of that. And I thank Allah because it wasn't hard for me to see that. Some people like Doubting Thomas and they have a problem with seeing it. But by Allah's mercy and his blessings, it was like clear to me, like that only adds up. Like that's mathematics. Like who is the man that was made to appear like he would be dead in the Holy Quran? If it didn't happen 2,000 years ago, and we know it didn't, and then out of his own mouth, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in Theology of Time said, I am that Jesus.
That's right. That's what he said.
Of the Bible. I'm the Muhammad of the Quran.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So how can we not equate all of the prophecy with him? We want to give him parts that we want him to have, and we don't understand that, these figures in the scriptures serve as prototypes. It's not just one person serving as one person.
That's right. That's right.
And we see it with Master Fard Muhammad. Because in point number 12,
that's right. Come on with it.
We say he's the Messiah of the Christians. That was in one aspect, just like early on, he was known as prophet.
That's right.
Look at history repeating itself. And what happened when he departed? What did the other 25,000 say about Nabi Elijah Muhammad? He didn't say that about himself. You talking about he God in person. You only trying to make him more because you trying to make yourself more. Do not we hear the people, the naysayers saying the same thing now?
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Elijah Muhammad never said that. You lying on it because you trying to make yourself something. See, if Allah don't want you to be whatever it is you trying to be, then you won't be it. So if the minister is who he is and has become who he has become right before our eyes, you can't put that light out because Allah has willed it. So all praise is due to Allah, brother.
Beautiful. Yes, sir. You teaching, bro, Isaiah. Thank you, everyone who is showing love all around the world. We have a brief 60-second commercial break for all of the sponsors of the People's Podcast. We are grateful for every like, share, and subscription. Thank you all to everyone who donates anonymous cash apps and continues to show love. Man, Brother Wazir is teaching, and I can't wait to upload this to YouTube. One moment.
All praise is due to Allah.
Podcast Street Premiere Media Production. He has a 4K camera and a drone. He does television and film editing. Please reach out if you need any of that. Sister Naima, Stay On Point Dance Academy. She teaches ballet virtually to young girls all across the country. Sister Miriam, ABC I Love Me children's book and coloring book. My father's book, A Soldier in the Movement of Christ. My two books, Cleopatra, which is a children's book, and No Father, No Excuse, both of which are available on Amazon. Beautiful. And please let us know which city you all are watching from. And if you have any guest suggestions, by all means, put those in the comments and or message me. All right. Yes, sir. We're right back to our brother Wazir. So you're saying while you're in prison, you read the book. Is it possible that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad is physically alive? And that was easy for you to understand.
By Allah's grace and mercy, yes, very easy. But like I said, I skipped. So let me go back because I want to get back to when I came out in November and became registered in 96. Because at the time, I still had these open charges hanging over my head. So, we soldiering now, we out, and it was difficulties along the way, especially knowing I got to leave my family, my children behind, and I struggled, and eventually I had to turn myself in. I was sentenced to 10 years, a 10-year flat sentence, meaning after 1/3 of your time, you're eligible for parole. So being as though that was my first time being incarcerated, they give you all your good time up front. So in August of 96, going in, Allah blessed me to come home in a halfway house, July of 97. And again, we straight to the mosque. We had used that time to grow. Okay, in those 4 months that I've done, I seen the benefit with Allah sitting me down. Because we become like Hagar running to and fro. And Allah sat me down. And I was forced to tap into him. Through prayer. That night prayer, that tahajjud prayer.
Yes, sir.
I will make that prayer every night. I will make 11 rakats every night, brother. And I gotta share this. My bail was $40,000 cash. No bail bondsman, no 10%, no property, nothing. 40,000 cash. After a couple weeks, they dropped it to 20,000 cash. I had I paid $750 for a bail reduction. I got a private attorney to appeal to the judge to let me out. And my mother, one of my sisters, my daughter's mother was in the courtroom, and he dropped it from 20 to 10,000. Cash though. Oh man, they crying. I'm drugged. I said, you know what? I went back and prayed. And Allah said, write the judge and thank him anyway. And while there, I had read the book about Freemasonry and its ties to Islam.
Yes, sir.
And we understand in the lessons, the Muslim Sons, the Shriners.
That's right.
So, and we learned right then and there the importance of language. So we opened up in the name of Allah. We let him know that that was still too much for me to get to, but I thanked him for at least providing me an opportunity to get closer to getting out. And I'll never forget the exact words I used, because remember, this is during the 95 Million Man March, the O.J. Simpson trial, and there was so much turmoil going on. I thanked him and I closed with, may Allah bless you and your family through these troublesome times that America and her judicial system is now faced with. Right? Didn't think nothing of it. No response. Brother Josh, 2 weeks later, I get a slip. That's how your bail reduction. Whenever they drop your bail, you'll get a slip at mail call. And they came and got it, and they dropped it from 10,000 to 5,000. So now we trying to get up to 5,000. My family gonna have a beef and beer. You know, my grandfather owned the bar. That's where I get my entrepreneurial spirit from. He owned all my life. He was like the first black owner of a bar in the city of Camden.
Okay.
My maternal grandfather. So we're gonna have a beef and beer. We're gonna get this money up. 2 weeks later, I get a late bail reduction slip. It's at nighttime. I'm in there with I'm actually at this time incarcerated with one of my cousins. And then the other guys I didn't grew bonds with, they called me to the front. They dropped my bail from 5 without even petitioning for it. It dropped from $5 to $1,000. This is unknown of happening in those sequences like that. That they even looked at me sideways a little bit like, man, you cooperating or something? Brother Josh, I had an armed robbery, receiving stolen property, and a weapons charge. I had a gun charge and armed robbery. That was unheard of to have $1,000 bail. So I got out, call up here and see. Make sure this ain't no mistake. They called, say, yeah, you say your bill $1,000. They came and got. And that's what led to that. Again, that was November the 4th, right after the Million Man March, and went to the mosque, became registered January, start soldiering, and eventually I had to go in that August, and we were blessed to get out in the halfway house that July. So we knew I went in with the mind state that I'm gonna turn all the way up. I'm gonna use this time to become the best I can be, spiritually and physically, and I grew tremendously. So now I'm back in the mosque. At this time, the brother minister Rob was able to secure a contract with us in the community, similar to what your dad did in DC.
Okay.
In the known hot drug area in Camden. And I was able to secure employment there. So, everything is family, is Allah, family, and nation.
Yes, sir.
And we doing what we supposed to do. And it just so happened, again, Allah says He's gonna try us at least once or twice every year.
That's right. Lord have mercy.
So we get met with the trial of a transition of leadership over the halfway house. So the lady who was in charge, she loved what I was doing. She had no issues with none of that. She went through some things, and a new guy come in who knows my family. He knew my family. My cousin is Todd McNair. He played running back for Temple. He made it to the league. He played running back for Kansas City.
Okay.
He's the running back coach for Tampa Bay. He got a Super Bowl ring and everything. His grandfather and my grandfather were brothers. Our dads is first cousins.
Good. Yes, sir.
That's my slave name was McNair. Not only was I blessed to get the Muhammad at Savior's Day 96, but I also legally changed my name as well. Another one, my dad's first cousin was Ronald McNair, the astronaut who blew up in the spaceship Challenger in
Mm,
86.
mm, mm.
I was 12 years old. I was in the sixth grade. They sent me and my cousin home that day
Mm.
from school because of that. So his father, Big Todd,
Yes,
he
sir.
came to even get a job, and he let him coming back in my room and to see me because I hadn't seen him since I was real little and all of that. Man, this guy caused me so much trouble, man. He ended up, I ain't letting you work there. You can't work there no more. You got too much freedom. Not that I was doing anything wrong,
Mm,
but I just don't want you there. But the higher way I should have looked at it as, Allah is the center of everything. What is Allah doing? But again, immature, man, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing, man. You caused me problems. And I actually was even taking college courses. I did everything in my powers to make sure I was out of there as much as possible. Brother Josh, I was only sleeping there.
mm.
That's all. I was gone. And so now they determined in my life, well, we think that you should just stop working and go to school.
Mm,
So again, the rebel in me is like, I'm gonna push back. How are you gonna dictate what I need to do?
mm,
I,
mm,
Evidently, I don't have no problem navigating because I'm not giving y'all no problems. Y'all didn't ask me to go sign up to take college classes. Y'all didn't provide me no job. I'm doing all this on my own. So, in my mind, man, let me be. So now I lost the job and I was working the second shift. So I'm going to school in the daytime. I found another job that was daytime. So I got to switch my classes over. The games he playing, every time you leave out, you got to have a pass. So I
mm,
call out of work. Look, I ain't gonna be able to make it. I still, I got to change my class, all that. The day he don't sign my pass. Now I don't want you to go. So now I'm getting flustered. Like, yo, what type of games is you playing? So eventually he made me lose that job. Then that's when they come up with the just go to school. Now, in college, every day is an assignment. And I'm getting behind on assignments.
yes, sir. Yes,
And
sir.
in the back of my mind, look, bro, Josh, in the back of my mind, man, America's educational system is great. Come to a close anyway, man. I don't
I'm
really need this,
I'm familiar. I'm familiar.
So I'm going over, I'm signing out because this is the ultimatum they tell me now. If you don't go to school, then you can't even go out on your passes on the weekends.
Mm,
So now I'm faking. I sign out, I'm going to school. I go sit in the cafeteria. I go
mm.
in the library. And I would go look for jobs. Was given the opportunity to get another job in the city, working. It's a well-known steak store in our city called Donkey Steaks.
Mm.
And it's basically like the cheese steak, but it's not chopped up. And it's on the sesame seed roll with
Okay,
onions and
okay.
cheese. And it's a bar. And the old white man that owned it, they call him Donkey because he's an old boxer. And they said he hit like a donkey.
Mm.
And it's called Donkey's Place. So they had a garage attached. It's really not attached to it. It's in the parking lot right next to it, where when the bar closed, you could still buy from there. And one of my best friends that I grew up with, his older brother was running it. And I ran into him, man, I give you a job. He immediately called straight up to the halfway house. But listen to what they told him, John. Now he can't work there. There's too many bars and liquor stores
Mm.
near it. Man, it's a bar and liquor store everywhere in the city, man. What y'all talking about? And y'all know I'm in the Nation of Islam. Y'all know I don't drink, but again, trials, situations that really Allah was allowing to happen. So now I'm not going to class. And anytime you're not accountable for your whereabouts for more than 2 hours, you considered escape. So being as though they tried to sneak and get my attendance sheet without me knowing, but I signed up for college as, nothing to do with being in the halfway house or anything.
Mm.
So she had to tell me, the appointment counselor, education counselor said, listen, I tried to get your attendance sheet. So bring me a copy of it.
Mm.
So I said, oh, they trying to send me back. They trying to send me back because I would have got sent back. And in my mind, I'm not going back to jail. And I ran, you know.
Mm.
I adopted that philosophy. I ain't going to jail. And America falling anyway. So that's what led to me eventually doing 22 years because, I should have just went back for that probably like 12 months. That 12 months, I turned that into 22 years. But again, Allah's the best knower, brother. And we thank him because we used it again to grow. Um, we became the study guide coordinator where we was at. And they always already had the same philosophy of making the copies of the articles when I
Mm.
got there. And I applaud the chaplain staff and I pray that Allah, blesses them for their good deeds. That every Thursday we show the DVD of the minister. And out of
Mm.
every final call, they would allow us to make copies of the centerfold, Brother Jabril, Mother Tynetta, and then it even grew to us making copies of the different current events and things and perspectives and things we felt was intricate and needed to be shared. And we would pass those out to the people who come to service, and we would take the extra copies and give it to people on the compound.
Mm. Mm.
This is how we spread the teachings, and we did that. I did that for 15 years
Go
in
ahead.
that specific facility where I left from. And I became the study guide coordinator there. Something that I didn't want. I've always been the type, brother. I'd rather play the back, and I'll work. I don't need to be out front talking. I'll play the back and work. And the first time I was encouraged to get on the rostrum, I was like, man, I ain't trying to get on no rostrum. I don't want to do no teaching. Like, nah, brother, you got a good understanding of the teachings. And I had brothers encourage me to do it. And it was like a rotation. We had the brother who was acting as the study guide coordinator when I first got to the feds, and a few other brothers, like he would speak twice. Then somebody else would speak this is Jumar. Then somebody else would speak. Then I would speak. So I'm basically like speaking once every 5 weeks.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But brothers used to say that were not in the fold, some that used to be in the fold, like, bro, you should be the minister. I'm like, hell no, I shouldn't be no minister, man. I ain't no minister. I don't want that. But Allah was preparing me for when I went to my custody dropped and I went to another spot, and the brothers who were running that, one brother Donald, may Allah be pleased with him, he had a life sentence from North Carolina, and he was able to get out. He got his sentence overturned after doing like 20 some years, and he was active, but Allah called him home. He had a heart attack in there, and they had to send him to a medical facility. And then the brother who was his assistant, he was a younger brother, really just coming into the teachings. And again, I ain't try to flex. Look, man, I know more than you. I'm running this, and I would help him. Like, how you need me to help? Or I give him advice. Look, try to do this. Try to do it like this. But you go out front. Then he went home.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
And Allah forced us to jump on. And on Thursdays, we would show the DVDs of the minister. On Friday, we had Jumar prayer. And on Saturdays, we had study guide class. And another blessing they were allowing us to do outside of a little budget that they give us and buy the DVDs of the minister, I would get an order form from the final call. And I would put on like 10 DVDs. That's when the minister was speaking
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
consistently. And, especially the Savior's Days, the planetary sessions, and the Day of Atonements. And then we would even get the student ministers when they start speaking, guest speaking at Mas Mariam.
Mm. Mm.
And we would send it home. My wife would put the money, the order form with a money order, and send it to the final call building with the return address to the chaplain. And they would allow us, they would review it, it would come in and care of, and they would review it and give it to us. So when I left, brother, we probably had about at least 300 DVDs and like 300 VHS tapes. assistant student minister Reginald Muhammad, he used to come in as a volunteer.
Mm.
So we got to give him his props too, because at one point he was donating and sending lectures into us and books and, coming and teaching study guide. Brother, I still have some notes that brother came in from 2005 from study
Mm.
guide class. I still have them, you know. So we just try to spread the teachings, brother. That's it. And let Allah work out what he gonna work out. I never was one to get caught up in, man, we gotta swell the ranks. We gotta increase the brothers and get these brothers to join and accept the teachings. And it's like, man, just give the people, be the example of the teachings and spread the teachings. When it's time, those brothers that come, Allah got something for them to do. But we don't make Muslims. Allah makes Muslims.
Come on, come on, come
You
on.
know,
Yes, sir.
so that stage of my life came to a close January 13th, 2021. And we reported straight to our nearest mosque and study guide. And we've been working ever since, brother Josh.
Excellent. Yes, sir. Beautiful. And people are showing you love and bearing witness all around the world. What city is Brother Reginald from? Who came in and volunteered?
Bro, Camden.
Okay, Camden. Okay, shout out to Brother
Yeah,
Reginald.
he's
Yes,
he's
sir.
the assistant minister right now.
All praises due to Allah. Beautiful.
Yeah, he would come in, and we got to give these brothers, and like you been doing in your interviews, is giving them flowers while they live. We got to acknowledge the work that our brothers and sisters have done and continue to do, because we know it's not an easy work. It's
That's
not
right.
a glamorous work. It's a hard work, but we do it because we love our people. We want to see our people free. So, that's the reward. But that's why I don't have no problem with giving accolades to the families and thanking them for their work. Their hard work makes it a little easier for us who come behind them. So regardless of the pioneers and what we think, oh man, they don't see the minister as they supposed to see him, or even believers who were registered, who Allah hasn't blessed at this point to see that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is alive. Man, we don't know who are we to put a period on them people, man?
Teaching. Yes, sir.
We don't know what the outcome is going to be. If you notice, with Doubting Thomas, he wasn't kicked out from the believers. He was still an apostle. And Jesus still said, he ain't say you ain't blessed for not believing before you seen.
Mm, mm, mm.
He said you blessed for seeing and believing, because some see and still don't believe. But even more those who are blessed who believe without seeing.
Go ahead.
So all praise is due to Allah.
Teaching down Thomas. That's powerful. Yes, sir. I wanted to ask you, and man, shout out to your. This is beautiful. This is what People's Podcast is about this Sunday. I wanted to ask you about. You said your wife.
Yes, sir.
The woman, your wife, while you were incarcerated, is still with you today. That's still your same wife.
Here we go. We pivoting now, brother.
I want to know,
Yeah. No, that's a
22
very,
years,
very, very good question, because Allah did bless me. So my other children's mother, my daughter's mother, and I have my son's mother. I had married my daughter's mother when I came home. When I went in the mosque, I said, man, I got to square all the way up. I see what 1 foot in and 1 foot out got. I see what doing the hokey pokey got me. So I said, I'm getting all the way in, and married her. But, it didn't work out from when I had to go in and do that time. So fast forward in 2012, shout out to Facebook and social media, that we had in the feds, we have core links. We're able to email. So, you got people always trying to make $1. So what you could do, people would send you their email and you'll contact them, and they'll say, listen, pay me X amount of money for the month, and I'll run your Facebook page for you. I'll run your social media. So you just email me what you want said, or send me the pictures you want posted, and I'll do it for you. So I was able to do that. And a sister that we literally sat next to each other in the second grade, brother Josh. We were 7 years old. She lived right around the corner from me. And she became a girlfriend, but her parents were strict. She couldn't leave her yard. And it just so happened that my god sister lived right next door to her. So I would go in my god sister yard and talk to her that way, you know. So we lost contact. We went to elementary school together, middle school together, and high school together. Shout out to my wife's sister Diana Muhammad. And and she ended up moving to Philadelphia because that's where her mother's family is from in high school. We lost contact.
Mm.
So fast forward, she's on Facebook, see me and say, man, is this, Nick? That's my nickname, Nick. Yeah. So we begin to communicate and she offered to come see me.
Mm.
So I sent her a visitor form. She came to see me, man, and she was locked in from day one. And I was more, I don't want you to let's be friends, because this is a hardship. I put myself in this situation. I'm not asking you to put your life on hold for anything and live your life, but if you want to support in any way, then feel free. Man, she took that like a rejection. So I called her one day and she ain't answer. I called back and she literally told me, like, I started not to answer because you playing games. I said, well, all right, let me fall back then and let you do what Allah inspiring you to do. And sister ended up attending Philadelphia MGT class and study guide, and eventually she became registered, I believe, in 2014.
Mm.
And we had a ceremony inside there of basically an acknowledgement of,
Mm.
this is what it is. I asked her, I got my daughter and her daughter. We're a blended family. We don't believe in the step thing because sometimes the word step has a negative connotation to it. You
Yes,
can
sir.
step up, but you can also be stepping down, you know. So, and I love her two daughters and son like they was mine. And then I have my two sons and my daughter. So we the Brady bunch. We got the 3 and 3, and we have 8 grandchildren, 5 boys and 3 girls. So I had my daughter and one of her daughters sneak in an engagement ring,
Mm. Mm. Mm.
and we gave it to her and asked would she do me the honor, and she accepted, and we legally did it, married last year, June 29th. And she's been a blessing. See, Allah give you what you need when He wants to give it to you.
Yes, sir.
You know, and He blessed me with a beautiful helpmeet, man. And
All praises to Allah.
yeah, all praises due to Allah for Sister Diana. And she's a good helper too, with a beautiful heart in this cause, and love the teachings, love our minister, love the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And again, I couldn't been blessed with a better helpmeet, to stand beside me in this work, you know.
Beautiful. Yes, sir. Okay. Now, brother Wazir, I gotta put you on the hot seat. Can do you think it's possible? Gotta let you talk to the queen and all of that. But we gotta get a part two where y'all come back together for our couples.
Oh, sure,
Yes, yes, sir. Just to see
sure.
together, and because I always wanted to know. I see it on TikTok has something where they'll have it's different with what you're saying, but it's kind of similar. But they'll show the women, and they'll show the women they who are behind bars, they locked up, and they saying, "Hey, woo, woo, like holler at me,
Yeah,
message me here, and da 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 da
yeah,
da da."
yeah.
And I was
Right.
like, I wonder does it work out once they get out? But to hear your story, that's beautiful
Yeah.
that you got out and stayed with her. That's beautiful, man.
Yeah. Most times it don't. I've no cases that it does, but it's the individuals. Is where you at. Is your mindset. Is what you striving for. But these teachers give us a solid foundation to strive on. I mean, to stand on. And
Yes, sir.
it's a struggle. It's like the minister has given us in the study guide. The difficulty factor.
Yes, sir. Yes,
For
sir.
everything of value in life, there's a difficulty factor attached to it. And There's nothing more difficult than two people, two different mentalities, most part, two different experiences, two different points of views, you know, coming together to try to mesh to become in line, you know. That's not easy. So that's why you even have believers in the nation. We know uh, divorces happen.
Yes, sir.
Like,
Yes,
man,
sir.
how y'all divorcing and y'all believe the same thing? You know, everybody's not compatible on that level. And that's why we should be cautious and really engage in the courtship process properly, you know, and go to court. What happens when you go to court? You bring evidence.
Yes,
Minister
sir. Yes,
told us
sir.
that. You know, you present the evidence to the court, and then you say, okay, man, I can work with those things, you know, or I can't work with those things. I heard brother Minister Nori break down the things that the minister taught him, you know, from out of Surah 33, ayat 35. You know, are they patient? Are they believing? Are they fasting? Are they truthful? You know, do they guard their chastity? You know, these are the characters we should be looking for, you know, in compatibility with one another, because, you know, we got to get back to what the self-improvement is. And it's the self. We can't have a strong community without self-improvement. And then from self to family, from family to community, from community to city, city to nation. You know, but we want to jump all the way out there. I'm the God of the universe. You ain't even the God of yourself. You can't control your urges. And that's what we have to stick to the basics, brother Josh. You know, the basics. You know, we like, you know, to be bean pie scientists. We What happened when the guy, the deportation of the moon, and what type of gunpowder did he actually use? You know, instead of getting into the rules of Islam, there's a rule of Islam, brother Josh, not
Mm,
just the 36 rules of Islam or the 24 principles of Islam. The student enrollment is
mm.
also known as the rules of Islam. So it's telling us that the number one rule is to be a student. You
That.
know, too many of us want is, you know the old saying is too many chiefs and not enough Indians.
Yes, sir.
But
Yes,
no,
sir.
it's too many professors and not enough students. You know, we got to get back to being students in this classroom of God. And as the lessons say, the above can be accomplished with very little study.
That's right. That's right.
Why? Because they laid out a formula that works. How are we gonna come back with a new formula? And we wonder why it's so hard to accomplish anything. Just stick to the script, you know, remain students. And we was losing that. And that's why the minister had to come with, man, we student laborers, you know, because the instructions to the laborers told us we can function until we qualify ourselves for these positions. But we get to thinking that we already qualified,
Mm,
that the
mm.
title qualifies me. You know, I'm brother such and such so and so. I'm sister such and such so and so. You know, and want to call shots instead of being a servant. Serve the people, serve the believers. You know, and qualify ourselves for the positions that await us.
Yes,
And
sir.
Josh, I pray in my prayers and I offer in my prayers every day. I pray for the Honorable Minister Farrakhan and the Farrakhan family. I pray for the executive council and their families. I pray for all the believers and their families. This is my prayers every day, brother. And in my prayer, I ask not only that Allah blesses and protects us and guides us, that He also helps us to qualify for the positions that await us.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know, and I just feel that we're blessed unequally.
Mm.
You know, blessed are those who have eyes to see. Regardless of what stage of development we may be in, we got to remain patient with ourselves and with our each other, because it's easy to see faults in somebody else. And that's good, because the minister told us in the study guide, in that process, not only will we begin to see the sicknesses that we have, we'll see the illnesses in one another. But don't shun it. It got to be manifested so it can be perfected.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But we so quick to condemn one another when we see something. Now we want to outcast each other. Now we got to keep working with each other like Allah works with us.
That's right.
Allah ain't see this craziness in us and just say, oh, I ain't got no use for him. He said he came to redeem us from all of our sins.
That's right. That's right.
Hey, bro, Josh, all of us crazy as hell, man.
Yes, sir. It's a
Man,
fact.
you don't come up as a former slave with the trauma we've been through, shaped in iniquity of Yaqub's civilization,
Yes, sir.
and not be suffering from the residue effects of it. See, the first, we got a saying, and we know we're not supposed to use the N word, right? But I have a bond that me and a group of brothers that some Sunni Muslims, some not Sunni Muslims,
Yes, sir.
but
Yes, sir.
like-minded men who stand on principle, that's honorable, that, we done time together and become family. You wake up and go to sleep to a person every day.
Mm.
That become your family. Man, we
Yes, sir.
eat together, we laugh together, we watch entertainment together. We literally fight for and with each other in that environment. And we become family. But the saying, we be like, see, jail nigga, you bugging, right? Because really in jail, you really get a glimpse of those of us that was kind of really off, and we think we right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But it's a blessing to have people to pull you up. Like, man, you bugging, right? And you serve each other as a soundboard.
Yes, sir.
Like
Yes,
you
sir.
constantly running into situations that a wrong decision can lead to life or death consequences. So we govern each other because I love you. And if you go down, I'm going with you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And if it get physical, I'm with you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And you never know, death is real. See, because it ain't no, I'm gonna pull my punch. Because if it's at that point, we gonna get it in, and I'm trying
Yes,
to
sir.
hurt you.
Yes, sir.
But I didn't encounter a lot, but I did have to in times. But I tried not to go there. And the teachings helped me to overlook things and use wisdom in dealing with situations. But sometimes some things is just you got to meet it head on and deal
Yes,
with
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
it. But for my crew, we would constantly make sure we're aware of what we're doing and how we acting, and we would pull each other up. And that's one of our sayings, like, jail nigga, you bugging.
Yes, sir.
And so we all crazy. That's the point I'm getting to. We all have things that we have to work on if we want to qualify for the new. So I'm the last one to be trying to point a finger at somebody and talk about, man, he this and she that, and they ain't wearing what they supposed to be wearing, and their attitude stink, and I ain't. You gotta answer to what you do. That's between you and Allah. I'm just gonna try to be your brother. If I see something and I can give you advice or help in the area, I'm gonna do it. But all that condemning you or trying to run you off or trying to flex on you because I'm officer of the day or I'm student lieutenant or whatever, I ain't into all that. And I thank Allah for that, that spirit, because that's how we should be as believers. Because that's the example that Elijah Muhammad gave us. We know the story. He would go to the supermarket he owned and put on an apron and pick up a broom. So ain't none of us beyond doing things of that nature and serving.
Beautiful. You teaching, Wazir. Praise be to Allah. And people showing you love all around the world. Thank you all for all the comments. Can't wait to upload this to YouTube. I wanted to ask you about, fighting in prison. Who were some of the main opposition that you all would have to deal with?
Now it depends on, look at the dynamics to this prison life. when you're, especially first, all right, I'll start on the state level. On the state level, it's always some set tripping, So if you in the state, say Jersey, it becomes a North Jersey against South Jersey thing.
Mm-hmm.
But you always have those amongst us that bypass that. And I think a lot of that I was incarcerated during the time of a level of my growth that I connect with solid men. I never was set tripping, man. They from North, they from Elizabeth, they from Patterson and Jersey City, and we from Camden, South Jersey. No, I was never into that. Of course, charity starts at home. I'm proud to be from where I'm from,
Yes, sir.
but I developed bonds with brothers that were straight up brothers from all over. But generally, to answer your question, it's generally like that, and then you get, it's like locally. In the city, you get local beefs. You from this side of the city, I'm from that side of the city.
Yes, sir.
But
Yes,
then when
sir.
we locked up, we all from that city. We gotta come together, we gotta
Yes,
hold
sir. Yes,
each
sir.
other down. And then it becomes, South and North and all that. I only can speak from Jersey for our state. Now, as far as the feds, it goes, the further you're away from home, the bigger your car becomes. It's considered
Mm.
a car. And they ask who you ride with. So being, okay, I'm from Jersey. If you on the East Coast, you'll ride with, I'm from South Jersey, so it's us, Philly, Delaware. North Jersey is mainly North Jersey, New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, like that. But say we start moving towards the Midwest, that car gets bigger. Now there's all of us. Now it
Mm.
becomes the Northeast, you know, and then you got DMV. You familiar with the DMV? They tend to roll together.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But as we start moving towards Midwest, South, into West, your car grows.
Mm,
So
mm,
now
mm.
there's, the whole East Coast. When you out West, the whole East Coast got to stick together. Because
Mm, mm.
again, we dealing with that Willie Lynch syndrome. I'm from this side of the plantation, you from that side of the plantation.
Yes, sir. Yes,
And then
sir.
our enemy has destroyed the knowledge of self. So now it's black and brown. So you get a lot of the blacks with the Mexicans and all of that. But again, I developed bonds with people from all over and all nationalities, and even developed some bonds with some good white men
Yes, sir. Yes,
that
sir.
were men of principle. So that's generally how I go, and it's gonna be that. So we just try to teach the knowledge of self. And again, the teachings help me to govern myself, because a lot of times we take it's the saying, the closest get the mostest. A lot of
Mm,
times we
mm.
take our frustrations out on those nearer to us
That's right. That's right.
and those who look like us. So sometimes you can be having a bad day. You got bad news. I lost a lot of loved ones in that 22 years. My father, my grandmother, aunts, cousins, uncles. And, some days, man, you wake up and you feel trapped. You feel hopeless. And the last thing you need is someone to irritate that, to interrupt that. And one of the first human instincts is to lash out, and it's unfortunate that some people just do that, you know, and it's unfortunate that sometimes people don't understand, oh, bro, having a bad day, let me give him some space, and not get caught up in, now I'm beefing with him. I don't even like him no more. And then try to initiate a beef.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I just say, oh man, bro, having a bad day, man. Give brother some space. It happens, Fruit code. You gotta be tolerant and understanding. We respectful and courteous. So I feel like the teaching saved my life,
Mm.
because I've seen people in that situation start off and really end up catching bodies, adding time on their time, or even getting killed. But it's the teachings that help govern my actions. And everything I would do, am I in accordance with the teachings? And sometimes I would be wrong and I would strive to correct my right because mistakes should not exist amongst the nation of Islam.
Yes, sir.
So I'm not above apologizing. Damn, my bad. I was bugging,
Mm, mm.
And if sometimes like I said, I'll ask the brother, run it past them, like, man, what you thinking of? And they say, nah, you was right. We stand with that. Or it was like, nah, yeah, you was bugging. And it's, damn, you know what? You got that. Let me go fix that. So again, I thank Allah for these teachings, man.
Beautiful. Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. And thank you, everyone who continues to watch and show love. I mean, the comments are going great. And thank you all to everyone who can't wait to watch on YouTube. Brother Sister Naima says, teach. All praise due to Allah. Brother Nelson Ramos says, Assalamu alaikum, beloved Muslim family. Alaikum salam, Brother Nelson Ramos.
Islam,
Thank you to
brothers.
Brother Daniel E., Brother Musa, Brother Kente, Sister Hope, Sister Auntie. And I have a brief just break in our story, Brother Wazir, to a special sister. I don't want to say her name because it's a medical situation, but she called me. I never met you before, sister, but she is in the hospital. She had a stroke.
Mm,
And her brother called me and said the sister can't remember her phone
mm.
a lot, can't remember what's going on with her bank account. But she mentioned to him when he came by her bedside that his son, this was last night, she called me, and he called me on behalf of her and said every Sunday she watched the People's Podcast. So I want you
Oh,
to
praise
know
to
that
Allah.
we sending our love to you, sister, and positive energy. May Allah continue to bless you, to heal, and to come back so strong, ma'am. And this is why we do People Podcast. I never met her before, but the brother called me and said, man, the sister said she watched the podcast every Sunday. So we want to send love to you and hope that you recover right away, sister, and may Allah bless you. Okay, Brother Wazir, I wanted to come back to you. Um, I gotta stay on this point. You're a minister, ministry, all this good stuff. You're received, mail from Minister Jabril, but this book, is it possible
Come on.
Most Elijah Muhammad is physically alive? How did you handle? I mean, you get this and you handle this. How did you handle that?
I try to share it.
Mm.
I try to share. Actually, I even gave it to someone. I gave it to a brother of mine that, we grew up together, was in the streets together. I gave it to him, I believe, when either he got shipped out or I got shipped out because I had ordered one, so I had two. And again, I didn't ask Minister Jabril for the book. He just gifted it to me, and
Yes,
I
sir.
had already had ordered it. So I had two. So I shared the one with a brother. I've always been one that I gotta share something. When I learn it, I gotta share it. Like my background is my mother was a substitute, no, instructional assistant
Mm.
when I was in elementary school. So I was doing, first graders work, second graders work as a 3, 4 year old, 5 year old. And when I would go up into her class for whatever reasons, I would try to help her students who were older than me in the
Yes,
head.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Always like to share, whether it was toys I had, going places. I always been a sharer and a teacher, but I was more intimate. Like I said, I didn't want the public platform. I didn't want to stand up in front of everybody and all of that. So in sharing, so once you get these teachings, it's like, man, I heard, man, you hear this, man, you got to
Yes,
know,
sir. Yes, sir.
man.
Yes, sir.
But my maturity had to catch up with it because if you wasn't receptive to it, I was no nonsense. Like, man, get out of here, man. You don't, like, man, get out of here, But Allah bless me to mature from that to one of more of patience and understanding. But just trying to share that book, and again, like Allah blessed me to see that because
Mm.
I was already a student of scriptures. I became very studious. See, I've always liked to learn. It was just the educational system.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Jawanza Kunjufu,
I'm
the
familiar. Yes, sir.
conspiracy to destroy black boys. I
Yes,
lived it.
sir.
I
Mm.
lived it. And we take for granted having teachers that look like us. Black women were from a little boy were always able to bring out the best in me because of how they dealt with me. Children are feelers. I've always been sensitive and can feel. And I can feel when you really don't care. And again, I was a hard-headed little boy, and I have a lot of women in my family, from my aunts, my grandmother, her sisters, and I've always been one that they all took to. Like, for instance, they'd say something like, that boy been here before. I
Yes,
was
sir.
always kind of advanced and stood out as like a family favorite. And, you get out of line, and it was easy for Black women to put me in line, basically, and, tighten me up without what I would feel as some sort of undergirding. Well, I'll put it in this terms, that there's no love involved with it. And from third grade, from having Black teachers from first kindergarten, first and second grade, third grade. So those first 4 years, I had Black women teachers. To now in the fourth grade at 9 years old, having a Caucasian teacher who just seemed so irritated with me, with any and everything. And as a 9-year-old, I perceived that. And I would push back on that. Like, for instance, we playing craxies. No, all children play craxies with pencils.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It just so happened I won the pencil from my good work. I got an A on the paper, and she gave a pencil out. We played craxies, and I broke my pencil. She seen I threw it in the trash. She tried to tell me to throw it, to go in the trash and get it out. Not going to no trash, even though it probably wasn't too much in there. But it's just the point of, as a 9-year-old, I felt I'm not going in the trash. I shouldn't have to go in the trash. And I had contention with her. And it was constant. Send me to the principal's office. And it started to turn me off from school until that was fourth grade. Fifth grade, now, see, it's not all Caucasians. I was in honor class. I was in an honors fifth grade class with a white man, Mr. Belinsky. Man, this man was cool as a fan. And he cared. And again, a child, you can tell when someone genuinely cares, regardless of their race. And I graduated from elementary school to middle school in one of the top classes. But then going through now, and I'm getting older, and through middle school and then high school, and you really start seeing it, the contention with Caucasians towards us. So that kind of turned me off from school, but I still love to learn. But it was nothing really that I felt was worth reading. Like, history turned me off. Like, I was able to see in high school, it ain't nothing but y'all history. It's nothing for us. Me reading this is not making me feel good. It's actually making me feel the opposite. Like, I don't feel good reading this. I don't feel good learning this. And I stop paying attention. Like, I was just doing enough because I was in the sports, played football and basketball. Then I stopped playing football and say I'm gonna focus on basketball, but my grades would be bad, so I wasn't eligible by the time basketball season come around. So then, after having hoop dreams, it was like, man, I'm full force in the streets, because this is our lot in life. It's either sports, entertainment, or the streets. And I don't know too many successful entertainers that came out of my city. We have some sports figures, but I see a whole lot of people in the streets, that had the trappings of success. So
yes,
that's
sir.
how
Yes,
I ended
sir.
up that route. But with the teachings, it re-inspired me to want to learn. Because I don't like for somebody to ask me something and I can't answer it. Especially when I'm saying, this is the truth. God appeared in the person of a man, and this is his messenger. And yes, sir.
What do you say when people say that to you?
Well, back then I would just do my best to teach. Just from you teach what you know.
Okay. Okay.
And to this day now, because I know more and I have a better approach of answering it from practice, but from studying, and following our minister. Let's make that clear. He's the lead wire that has blessed us with the proper understanding. He's loosened the knot in the tongue of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Yes,
It
sir.
was
Yes,
him
sir.
that expand the breast, but just being a student, brother. Being a student. Because I ain't had a good idea, man, all my life.
Mm, 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 mm.
I just be a student and follow. And I look for those who are examples of good students. And that's why I said from the beginning, I appreciate your platform and making these other believers who are students in the classroom of God on the various levels that we get inspiration from. Like brother Minister Willie has the written testimony.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a testimony. And he interviewed, shout out to Minister Willie from Muhammad Miles 46 in New Orleans. He interviews the student ministers. And, same thing, you probe and bring things out of them. That's for what? Not to big us up. And that's why I reached out, because I'm nobody. What makes any of us somebody is being connected to the somebody.
That's right. That's right.
And if that connection serves to help others, then this is the part that we play. So I get inspiration from listening to people's testimonies. How did you handle that? What did you go through? Man, okay, damn, that was a good point. It's like I have a little shout out to Professor James. I do a little studying under him at Quiet Storm Dojo in Delaware, and it's like, but prior to even getting into Sanukas, I have a little boxing history. And what you do is when you study the greats, you don't pattern yourself after just one person.
That's right. That's
Because
right.
you might not have the skill of that one person. But you might say, damn, I like how Muhammad popped his jab. That Larry Holmes ended up perfecting it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sugar Ray Robinson, man, his footwork. Man, you see how he was able to pivot in and out, get inside out, his movement. And you take bits and pieces. And then you put it with the gifts and skills that Allah blessed you with.
That's right.
It's like man, I listened to so much of the believers that was on your podcast. It's really hard for me to keep up with who said what. But one of the brothers into the arts gave that sort of example of not trying to mold a person into a system.
Brother Alex.
Brother Alex.
Yes, sir.
Shout out to Brother Alex.
Yes, sir.
You pattern that person into what fits for them. Because you trying to make a person that's light on their feet, heavy on their feet. Let him perfect being light on his feet. So just stuff like that. And I try to use that same methodology with how people teach the word of God. The way they come across. The successes, Minister Nori, I listen to him a lot. Dr. Wesley, I listen to them a lot. Say, man, I like the way he tied that in.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Like how studious he is. Again, going back to the basics, the rules of Islam. We have to be students and be enrolled in this classroom of God. Look at the math. Dr. Wesley tells us in the book of God that the ancient Egyptians believed that to become God, the Sanum Banum, when you reach godhood, it takes 42 years. How long did Master Farah Muhammad study?
42 years. Yes, sir.
42 years. When did he become 42? See, did he become 42 before he came? He was born in 1877. 1887, 1897, 1907, 1917. In 1919, he was 42. So he was not even at his full Sanum Banum or godhood when he came in 1910. Because you still got to work. See, you can do the theory. In theory, he knew our condition. In theory, he knew the level he was raised to. But it wasn't until the practical application of what he learned that he grew to be the master this day of judgment.
Yes, sir.
That was a process. He wasn't born that. He was just predetermined to become that.
That's right. That's right.
Now, Honorable Elijah Muhammad didn't meet him on my father's birthday, September 22nd, but he was born in 1942. Shout out, and may Allah be pleased with my father. Rest in peace.
Yeah,
but even in recognizing him, he didn't become, at that point, the messenger. It wasn't until the time that he put in that work that he grew from messenger to living and risen Christ.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And then he couldn't reach his fullness until he ascended. We literally watched the minister reach his Sanum Banum amongst us. But again, we can't see for looking. And know what it is, brother? I got to add this. The problem I think that we suffer from, we don't see the greatness in each other because we don't see the greatness, the potential greatness in ourselves. So how can you grow to be the Messiah in our midst? Man, you can't be that because I could never be that. I'm going to impose a limitation on you because I put a limitation on myself. So I think that's something that we suffer from as well, that we can't see, that a man will have to come in Elijah Muhammad's name and lie, but the world puts him up. Like, come on, brothers. But, just stay right there. We ain't got time to argue with you. We just going to keep working.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because it says that Allah will sort it out in the end. So, feel how you feel, think how you feel, think, and, may Allah bless you to be around long enough.
Beautiful. All praises to Allah. People bear witness, and thank you all for showing love to our brother Wazir. You teaching. I wanted to ask you, sir, Jersey, Camden, all of this, we asked each guest multiple times, what is your favorite album of all time?
Oh, man. My favorite album of all times. That's kind of asking what's your favorite Minister Farrakhan's lecture of all time. If we were going, I would say Michael Jackson, Thriller.
Okay.
Because that was so impactful on me as a young man at that time. And that's when the record came with the words. And I just about learned all the words. I knew the Vincent Price part on Thriller. I grew up around a musical family. Again, remember I shared that my grandfather owned the bar. He had a jukebox in there. So I grew up from a little boy going down there, and I would ask for money to play the records. And all the old records, when the guy would come and change the records, he would give them to my mother. And we had crates of 45s and 33s in my basement. We just so happened they got damaged. The basement flooded, and we lost. And I didn't understand the value of all those crates of records of vinyl. But at one point, I thought I was a DJ, Brother Josh.
Okay.
I learned how to scratch on a component set. See, I'm an unofficial 60s baby.
Okay.
I was born in 74. My oldest sister is 9 years older than me. And then I have twin sisters that's 7 years older than me. So I grew up in a neighborhood with older people. And I grew up with grandfathers and older uncles. And I always would like to spend time with them. and hang with the older crowd, and had a big old radio that I could barely carry at 12 years old.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
My sister bought, and her boyfriend, for my 12th birthday, bought me my first radio, the double cassette
Mm, mm, mm.
with the detachable speakers. And I learned how to scratch on making, I used to make mixtapes, bro, Josh.
Mm.
I give an example. Just say like LL Cool J song, I'm Bad.
Okay.
I would record, have the record button pressed but on pause, and have the play button on pause. So I would let it say, I'm bad, and then pause the recording and rewind it back. And then have it say, I'm bad again. Record that again. Then record repeatedly. Then bad. So when you play the tape that I recorded, it'll say, I'm bad, I'm bad, I'm bad. Like if I was on a turntable doing it. I was doing that at 12 years old. At 10 years old, I DJ'd my sister's parties.
Mm.
Because they were twins. For my mom, that means double class dues, double prom, double class trip. So they was having dollar parties. So
Mm.
my uncle was a DJ, and he let one of their schoolmates DJ with the equipment in our basement, and he stole my uncle diamond heads off the turntables.
Mm.
So my uncle said, y'all can still use the equipment, but that got to come upstairs. So he bought new heads, and over the week I practiced on the mixer how to transfer from one turntable to the next. And I actually literally DJ'd their high school party at 10 years old. So I figured, I'm the DJ, I can go down in the basement too. I kept getting kicked out, man. Take your little boy.
Eh.
But yeah, at that time of 8 years old, Michael Jack, that Thriller album was man, that was something. But
Yeah.
I enjoy listening to all type of music. Of course, some hip hop from to the core, you know, especially that the conscious rap. And you know, I think the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that color, music, and medicine is the real religion of God.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So good music, and especially the old school stuff. That's why I was saying how I'm an unofficial 60s baby.
Yes,
So,
sir. Yes,
the
sir.
Isley brothers and the Whispers and the OJs and, you know, Tina Marie. And gotta shout out our sister Stephanie Mills, especially because her open love for our beloved minister.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
She don't hide and then try to meet with him and get guidance from him and hide from how she feels about him. So we love her and the
Yes, sir.
instrument in her voice that Allah blesses her with to convey music.
Excellent. I wanted to ask you, sir, and thank you everyone who's watching. Some people showing love. I wanted to ask you about the uh, your legacy.
Yes, sir.
What would you like your legacy to be, sir?
Um, that he helped. He did everything in his power to help the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan deliver the people to the Lamb of God, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. That even in my mistakes, brother was sincere with a big heart. That's it. Man, listen, let me be the doorman to open up the door of the baby planes or the kingdom of God, and I'm cool. Let me be the janitor. I just want to see it, and if I'm not even blessed to see it, let my grandchildren see the change. Because like I said, brother Josh, that time in my life when I began to seek, it hurt me that at my way of thinking, I couldn't see an end to what we were going through. Like, to me, it was like, this is our lot in life. This is it. And it was in the, you ask and it shall be given,
Mm-hmm.
Seek and you shall find.
That's
Knock
right.
and
That's
it will
right.
be answered. So I began to ask these questions. And the first question was, and I sitting in that car after smoking that weed, asked my friends, why would God allow this to happen? And I believe that question set me on the path to get to where I'm at now. I just had to take the Jonah route. But eventually, he spit me out and I'm in sackcloth and ashes now.
Beautiful. And thank you everyone who's watching, Brother Wazir. You mentioned your
Yes.
parents. May you say their name, sir?
Okay, yeah. My father, James McNair Sr. Again, I was a junior, but my nickname was Nick. My grandmother's sister had named me Nitty Gritty, and that changed from Nitty Gritty to my uncle calling me Nickum Trickum, because he said, man, you got a way of getting what you want. And that became just Nick. So most people knew me as Nick McNair, but it was James McNair Jr. My
Mm.
mother's name is Sissy McNair. Shout out to my mom. My mother just turned 78 years old
Okay.
on June 5th. So, we thank Allah for her. I come, from the lineage that I come from. You know, my maternal grandmother is from not far from Sandersville, Georgia.
Mm.
You know, they're from Swainsboro, Georgia.
Mm.
That's not too far from about. I forget. I did the math one time on how many miles, but it's rural Georgia, and they came to Camden when my grandmother was 11. So I come from that southern spiritual system, not the stereotypical church people, but the spiritual aspect of the the ritual of going to church.
Mm.
Again,
Mm.
my grandmother married my grandfather who owned the bar.
Mm. Mm.
So it
Mm.
wasn't that holier than that. Oh, you drinking in the fire spit. Nah, it's we gonna honor God in the way we've been taught to honor him, but we gonna party too.
Yes, sir. Yes,
And my
sir.
father's family is from South Carolina, and they moved up. So I'm really 2 generations removed from being a country boy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, all praise due to Allah. And this shall lie, Brother Wazir. I look forward to meeting you in person. And
Definitely,
we can break bread.
definitely. In
Yes, I want
close, in closing, before I'm gonna let you go, I have to acknowledge your father. You
to.
know, he was our great example of manhood.
Mm.
We see the minister, but as pastoral, but minister solid. We know minister is solid, but as a 19-year-old, a 20-year-old, a 21-year-old coming from the streets, being attracted to that militancy, never many, but always identify with his spirit,
Mm.
you
Mm.
know, being a warrior. How we know he's a warrior? Because you always seen him right next to our minister, right behind our minister. So I gotta give props and thanks for him and his sacrifices. And it's well, my desire is to meet all the pioneers from I'm making my business to introduce myself at Savior's Days, you know, to the different pioneers. When they, I try not to be too forceful, but when they're available, I try to and thank them personally because, consciously and most times unconsciously, they've played a major part in helping us to get to this stage and even further where we need to be. So we thank a lot for you, your father, your family,
Praise
your
be.
mother, you come from soldiers, and that's why Allah is using you, brother.
All praise due to Allah. Yes, sir. Thank you very much for Wazir. And we thank you and for your sacrifices, the many sacrifices of your family. Salute to your children, your wife. And we please reach out to her about part 2 so we get y'all on together. Thank
Yes, sir.
everyone out of Camden. We interviewed Professor James as well. Shout out to the connection out there, Sister Khadija Kareem and all her family, because
Right.
they are the ones who plugged us. They helped me with the East Coast guests. So thank you, Sister
Praise be
Aisha
to
Kareem,
Allah.
all of them. This is Joshua Leonard Muhammad signing off of the People's Podcast. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Make Islam, brother.
Thank you very much. And thank you all for watching.